Imagine you're sitting in your car in the drive-thru and you get an emergency phone call that sounds like, "We have a 3-year-old girl and her mom has been shot and she's in the hospital. She's not expected to live through the night. It's domestic violence. All clothing's been taken by police as evidence. We need someone who can bring a blanket or some clothes and can pick her up for the night. Could you?" Or we have a 13-year-old boy who is sound asleep. He's at the DHS office right now. His dad was so high on drugs, he could hardly function. We've been calling everyone in his family, and we've struck out. Can you pick him up for tonight? Kids being placed in the foster care system need thousands more families to answer the call and say yes. But for the last 5 years in a row, the number of foster homes across the United States has been in decline. Right now in the United States, there are 350,000 kids in foster care and only 200,000 available homes. An emergency response is needed now. I'm the CEO of a nonprofit organization called The Contingent, and we know that kids and families and caseworkers on the ground need help. We recently completed a study of thousands of community members and found that only 5% of the population will ever even consider becoming a foster parent. This talk is about how to use data and technology to find the 5%. For 7 years, I recruited foster parents across the state of Oregon. My office was my car, and my existence was coffee meetings for days. We were caffeinated as hell, but completely failing at finding the 5%. Jittery, with all kinds of anxiety about how can we do this better? How can we solve for this problem? I asked a group of fellow nerds to work with me to study these big election machines that sell all of us political divide. Or to look at these private sector machines that sell us consumer products like body deodorant or eyelash extensions, or my personal favorite, shirts fit for dad bods. We wondered what would it look like if we hacked these tools for the foster care use case. And so we went into the lab and we studied how big data works. We looked at readily available technologies, and we came out with a new innovation for how to mobilize community, and we call it the air game approach to social impact. And we're on to something. Now, to be sure, when looking at complex social issues, there's no such thing as a silver bullet. When I look at the challenges that we face in our neighborhoods today, I'm actually one who believes that government is not the answer. Hell, I'm the CEO of a nonprofit organization. This is what I do. I can tell you with 100% assurance that nonprofit programs do not change lives. Only, and I mean only, relationships do that. You are the answer. You are who we need. You are the answer. I grew up in a single-parent home with no pop. My mom did the best that she could to care for me and my siblings, but we were poor. So poor, we would always eat hamburger helper, but we couldn't afford the hamburger. I mean, we just called it helper. I knew that if the ball rolled by, there was no backstop. I knew that I was walking on the razor's edge of life. But I also knew that there were dozens of healthy adults that were surrounding me. I'm here on this stage today because of one mentor in particular who looked at me one day, steel-eyed, saying, "Ben, we get it, man. Life's been hard, but you're so obviously loved. It's time for you to look within yourself, to find the gifts that you've been given and do something with them." Kids in foster care, they're like me. They need loving and supportive families, and they need people who can walk with them and challenge them to do hard things well. And we know what kids in foster care need. They need what we call +2 foster families. A +1 is when a child enters a foster home and we're able to accomplish placement stability. That means that that child sticks and stays. Another +1 is when we're able to accomplish permanency. That means that when the child enters a foster home, a plan for their long-term stability is created as quickly as possible, always with the goal of getting them back home to mom and dad. That's the goal. But +2 families are really hard to find. And when only 5% of the population will ever even consider becoming a foster parent, we're not looking for a needle in a haystack. We're looking for a needle in a field of haystacks. And right now, across the United States, tens of thousands of nonprofit organizations are using grassroots, ground game strategies to mobilize community. We know that the foster yard signs don't work. I'm not joking when I say that we're literally praying that you're going to stop by our booth at the freaking county fair. The air game is a haystack hack. And here's how it works. First, you have to understand the problem. In the AI revolution, we know that data will be gold. And when governments are involved, data is often over-collected and underutilized. And so we've created a gap analysis tool that's designed to try to understand the current kids in foster care and their defining characteristics. We then look at the inventory of available foster homes and identify the gap for the ideal placements that we need to recruit to make sure that every child has a safe and loving and stable home. Let's take a look at the state of Oregon. Right now, there are approximately 5,500 kids in foster care in Oregon. This look is interesting, but it tells us very little. What we need to know is what's going on at the neighborhood level, because when kids are removed from their parents and placed in foster care, they don't deserve to be ripped from their schools or their social networks. So let's drill down. Right now, you're staring at a neighborhood just outside the Portland airport. There are 13 children in foster care, and 2 of them are teenage girls who have been placed out of the county. There are currently only 4 available foster homes. We know that we need more homes, but you see, what we really need are very particular homes for very particular children with very particular needs. It's one thing to understand the problem, but that's not the magic. The magic is actually doing something with that information. And so we began to study and ask the question, what makes a successful +2 foster parent? We studied hundreds of families across the United States. We looked at their income, their ethnicity, their geography, their consumer behavior, even the number of kids in their home. And we create typologies. That gives us the ability to go and buy large sets of data for people in the community that look like +2 families. We then use Microsoft technologies like Dynamics and the Power Platform and Azure to create what we call data lakes. A data lake is a reservoir that stores large volumes of data. We have the ability to run AI so that we can get intelligent insights that will always drive us to action. You see, with this information, we're not like handing out flyers at the farmer's market. No, we are parachuting in to zip code 97218 to talk very specifically to Amelia Earhart at 7000 Northeast Airport Way. Our message to Amelia: Amelia, did you know that right now in your neighborhood there are 2 teenage girls who are in foster care, and they've been placed out of the county? We have reason to believe that you would be an incredibly successful foster parent. Do you want to think about it with us? These messages, they're being sent in a myriad of ways. We are geo-targeting around Amelia. We're creating an invisible fence around where she lives and where she works. We're creating a fence around her online activity, whether she's shopping or reading the news, always asking the question, would you think about it with us? Is this something that you think you could do? And if Amelia says yes, we then have used machine learning to create a lead scoring tool. Lead scores matter because when kids are in an emergency, speed and efficiency are everything. In the foster care system, caseworkers are often overloaded with large caseloads, and so we want to deliver information from the air to the ground so they can prioritize their work. And so if Amelia inquires, she's going to get a 5-star lead score. That tells us that she lives in a gap community and also looks like a historically successful foster parent, as opposed to this dude who lives in a community where there's not currently a need. He might get a 1-star lead score. And if Amelia clicks and says yes, then we've created a digital platform that is a concierge service so that Amelia always has someone to talk to at the drop of a hat. We're sending her automated messaging via email and text message, wanting to make sure that she's got the ability to discern well about what placement agency to work with or which kids are a best fit for her home. I've often said that being a foster parent, it's like a choose-your-own-adventure game. Being a foster parent can be really scary, and it is always hard. It's not uncommon for gaps to emerge in the lives of foster parents and the kids that they serve. And so we've created a digital technology, a platform, so that Amelia knows that she is always one click away, always able to ask for help no matter what gaps emerge. We then gather that information and we ping it across thousands of community members who are living 1 foot up, always ready to airdrop supplies to close the gaps for Amelia, which could be groceries or diapers, a washer and dryer, or maybe even a shoulder to cry on. We are closing the gaps using an air game approach to data and technology. We're closing the gaps for kids in foster care, and we're closing the gaps for families saying yes. In the last 4 years in Oregon, we've mobilized 32,000 volunteers. We've mobilized almost 9,000 foster family inquiries. And we are now deploying the air game across the United States from right here in Oregon. And we can do the same on a myriad of issues. Take, for example, homelessness. If we had a gap analysis that told us the information about what the needs are for people who are currently living outside, we could mobilize community assets and relationships. We could solve the social issue. You see, the problem is not that we are not being taxed enough, and you know that. The problem is not awareness. Every elected official in the West is going to run on this issue. The problem is you have never been asked to participate. It's not that you won't participate. It's not that you don't want to participate. It's actually that you don't even know where to begin. And so I implore all of those making decisions about the social sector, you have to realize that we make decisions differently now. I'm not an inventor. I'm not a computer wizard. Hell, I'm an English major, for God's sakes. I was just brazen enough to ask the question, what if we balanced the constant barrage of ads we get selling us things like weight loss products, and we asked humans to do hard things for one another? Each of you creates a digital footprint, and in the future, that footprint will be like a currency. The algorithms know what motivates you. It's just that I believe that you are far more motivated than just the goods and services that you purchase. Human beings long for meaning, and meaning is created when we serve one another. And so we have some big questions to ask about the future of big data and technology and how it will shape our society. And I'm begging you to land in a place of technology optimism, because in the days ahead, we will not be mobilizing community from the ground. No, in the days ahead, I promise you this, we can solve social issues by asking you to get involved to be the solution, and we will solve those problems from the air. Thanks.